Okay, welcome to our presentation, and it's called Fine-Tuning the Use of Verbal Report in Research on Language Learner Strategies. I'm Isobel Wang. I'm from the Murray House School of Education and Sport, the University of Edinburgh, and this is my colleague, Andrew Goen, Professor Emeritus from the University of Minnesota. So the focus of the presentation is twofold. We will first revisit the term Think Aloud protocols as used in language learner strategy research. In particular, we will explore how the term can be refined to capture the complexities of the given cognitive processes. Secondly, we will present findings from a recent study we conducted to demonstrate how different types of verbal report were used to assist researchers in obtaining a robust measure of the cognitive processes involved in strategizing.
Okay, so types of verbal report. Well, there are three actually. There's think aloud, which is immediate stream of consciousness. It's unedited and unanalyzed external verbalizations of mental processes. This is think aloud. Then there's introspection, involving an inspection, which is analysis of thoughts within a brief window of perhaps a minute or less, while the thought is still active in the mind, often just a few seconds. And then there's retrospection, and it can be during the task, say a vocabulary task, and it's efforts at retrieval of the memories we have of those thoughts while we're doing the task. Or it can be after the task, efforts at retrieving the memories of our thoughts while we were doing the task, past tense, while were doing the task. So we see we have a complicated, layered sort of continuum of verbal report. We have the processing of thoughts during the task, which could be very briefly think aloud, where we're just spewing it out. Introspection, where we don't just spew out, but now we're analyzing. We're analyzing our thoughts as they materialize, our cognitive processes. And then it can also be retrospective. It can be during the task we're retrospecting what we just thought, or it could be after the task. Immediate retrospection, say, would be within the first hour or so after the task. And delayed retrospection, which includes this very popular category of stimulated recall, which Sue Gass and colleagues have actually written a book on, stimulated recall. It entails tangible reminders of a mental event, such as video recordings, transcriptions of the verbal report, well after it was collected, the data were collected. Okay, the review of literature. Well, we did a review of 325 studies, 6 years worth of studies from the LLBA database. Very helpful. Came up with perhaps, well, with a subset. What was interesting for us was a subset of studies which demonstrated that think aloud as a term has morphed into a go-to label for thoughts triggered when subjects verbally describe the mental processes during language tasks. And it includes all those different types that were in the continuum we just presented. A subset of them referred to think aloud as a cover term. The cover term for what are actually the differing types of verbal report used to describe strategizing. The takeaway from this review of literature is, would there be value in distinguishing among these differing types of a report in both data collection and in data analysis? This was the whole purpose of putting this study together. And Isobel now will speak to what we did and what we found.
Thank you. So let me briefly go through the study, and we want to tell you about the value of fine-tuning the nature of verbal report. The aim of this study was to investigate at the micro level the cognitive processes underlying strategy use with an emphasis on the differential results obtained from different types of verbal reports. So this study really helped us to see how fine-tuning different types of verbal report can help us understand the given cognitive processes when investigating strategy use. So in order to achieve this aim, we have two research questions. The first research question is to what extent does differentiating the types of verbal report contribute to an understanding of the cognitive processes that participants use in completing language tasks? So this research question addresses the different roles of verbal report can play in understanding the given cognitive processes. The second research question, we want to explore the questions in what ways the differentiation of verbal report types provide researchers insights into the nature of student-tutor participation and the cognitive level. And this research question specifically addresses vocabulary strategy instruction with the aim of not only improving learner strategizing in the task performance, but also enhancing teacher strategies for giving and providing strategy instruction. So what we did, we conducted a study at a university level to investigate the dynamics of vocabulary strategy instruction with a particular focus on fine-tuning participants' comprehension of vocabulary in academic writing. And this study involved 12 participants, and they were non-native English speakers, and they were graduate students from a UK TESOL program. So the program is for developing teachers of English for speakers of other languages. Although their English level, their English proficiencies was at advanced level, but the depths of their vocabulary knowledge varied across different participants, and their vocabulary knowledge was measured by the word associated test. So this is the results also underscored our hunch of engaging our students and participants in strategy instruction and developing their own comprehension and the production of vocabulary. Before the main study, our participants also learned about different approaches to vocabulary strategy instruction and some practical teaching ideas from workshops and tutorials. During the program, our participants provided verbal report about their strategy use. So as mentioned, we have 12 participants and they were paired into 6 dyads, and each participant switched between the roles as a tutor and as a student in 2 strategy instruction sessions per dyad. So let me talk about our research findings in response to the first research question in terms of the effect of differentiating the type of verbal report in order to better understand the cognitive processes involved in completion of language tasks. So what we found is the thought processes provided by our participants reflected a continuum from pure stream of consciousness think aloud to introspection to during task retrospection and then to post-task retrospection. So let me show you an example, okay? And this data provided from one of our participants. Her name is Tian. In this example, she assumed the role of the learner. And just by the way, all the quotations we provided here, they were originally in Chinese and we translated into English. So Tian started to provide think aloud data. She said, I'm searching for interplay with in Google Books and seeing studies on its interplay with power. So she's reading the Google book. So it's kind of unfeatured, very immediate cognitive processing. And then she provided a mixture of think aloud data and introspective data, because not just immediate observation of the word, but she also provided further analysis of the words. So that's why she said a word used with people, I can see interplay is used as a noun. Further along this continuum, the during task retrospection was also evident. So she recorded this aligns with what the Oxford Dictionary says. So this data also indicated she looked back her action and recorded what Oxford Dictionary said. So building on this, based on this example, we can see in situations where they were think aloud data about their strategic behavior, but the additional introspective and the retrospective data also provided very valuable and helpful elaboration. This elaboration provided in-depth insights into 4 areas. So first one is how those different strategies were used and interrelated. In other words, how those strategies were used in sequence, in pairs, or in clusters, and also the evaluation of the strategies, the given strategies used, and also their reflection on the challenges they encountered during the tasks, as well as their own comments and observation on the progress they made during the task. So here's another example. So you can see Tian also started to provide her think aloud data. So she's reading the title of the book. And then she provided her retrospective data. So she said, where the context is similar to what I want to convey, upon look at the content, the book mentions that different environmental factors can interact with individuals. It also uses interact with here. So I feel that interplay and interact with are very similar. So so she's not only to give a very immediate reaction to the words, but also she provided further analysis of the given words in relation to the context. She also used the strategy of comparing the 2 words together to see whether they are similar, whether they are interchangeable. So you can see this data also indicated how these 2 strategies were used in pairs, how they were related. Furthermore, she also she also evaluated her task performance. So she said, I was quite confused at that time. So she also provide kind of retrospective evaluation on her challenges and difficulties she faced during the task. We also collected the immediate post-task retrospective data within 2 hours. And this timely feedback also provide us to identify the actual effectiveness of a given strategies, and a micro level look at how the participants handled any challenges or difficulties during the tasks. So here's an example Sam shared in the immediate post-task retrospective interview. So she said, back in college, my teacher always said that if you want to find synonyms for a word, the most authoritative source is the dictionary. Usually you can find clues in the definitions. This is why I consulted the word definition during the session. But I have also found that even if a potential synonym appears in the authoritative dictionary, it doesn't necessarily match the meaning you want to convey. So you see the immediate retrospective data not only provided the information about what strategies they use, but also why they chose those strategies and what challenges they encountered during the task. So we go back to the previous slide. So apart from the immediate post-task retrospective interview, we also conducted delayed post-task retrospective interviews with each of the participants within 48 hours. It refers to one type of stimulated recall to provide further reflections about the verbal report data produced by the participants during the strategy instruction session. So here is one of these interviews. I asked Tian, the participant, by going through our self-access strategy instruction materials, did you use any new strategies in this session? And Tian responded. She said, as a result of this session, I learned I could use online dictionaries, such as the Oxford and the Collins dictionaries, to find lots of useful information about word. For example, using Google Books was a new strategy for me. Seeing how these two words are used in academic articles can help me better judge if my previous assumptions were correct. I think this strategy is very useful. So the delayed retrospective data provide us more information in terms of her perceived effectiveness of the given strategies, as well as how these strategies impacted her learning experiences, how these strategies were related to her future learning. So now let's have a look at the second research question and our findings in response to the second one, in terms of the effect of differentiating the type of verbal report in order to better understand the participation of the student and the tutor. So our analysis revealed that triangulating different types of verbal report data produced a more comprehensive picture or more nuanced view of learning engagement in interactive sessions than just relying on one single type of verbal report. So let's consider the case of Michelle and her cognitive engagement in verbal report. And I'm going to show some data, especially demonstrating the ways that she used inference in the fine-tuning of her comprehension of academic vocabulary. So let's have a look at the data Michelle provided. And you can see she's provided different types of verbal report, not only think loud, but also introspective and retrospective data. So she started to provide very immediate reaction towards the word washback. And then she noticed that the washback refers to the inference of testing on teaching and learning. And then she also provided further analysis of the words in relation to the given context. So that's why she said, oh, the abstract doesn't say whether it has a negative or positive impact. I think this is a word which may not convey an attitude. It's a more neutral word. But she also provided retrospective data, and she recorded her initial goal of finding a more neutral word. And she also evaluated her task performance and concluded, oh, this word seems to convey the meaning I intended to express. So Michelle's retrospective verbal report also included recovery of previous source, in this case, in terms of her intended meaning. So triangulating, as you can see, triangulating different types of verbal report enriched our understanding of her strategy choice and also decision-making processes.
So you can see that it's very robust to get all of these different types going and not just to throw in a label, think aloud as a blanket fuzzy term. Okay, teacher engagement in vocabulary strategy instruction. In addition to the verbal report data collected during the VSI sessions, the two types of VR data obtained afterwards by means of both immediate and delayed post-task retrospection enriched our understanding of the participants' engagement as tutor. That's why we wanted the dyads and wanted to look both at the learner side and at the tutor side in the same tasks. Immediate retrospection provided participants with opportunities to clarify and justify their VSI strategies when in the role of tutor. So here we have one from Shishi, immediate retrospective data. When I saw that Pei, the learner, was not using a strategy effectively, for example, when she only looked at the first dictionary definition and sample sentences without comparing other definitions, I pointed out her strategic misstep and suggested what she should do next. I understand that the purpose of strategy instruction is to enable students to apply strategies on their own. But as a teacher, there were times when I found myself unable to refrain from making decisions for pay, in contrast to my intentions. So this was some very honest data we got from her. Very helpful in immediate retrospective data mode. Okay, things to consider. As long as performance in the second language or third language or whatever has high stakes value in the target speech community, as some of you know, I'm working now in my 13th language, Chinese. So it's old hat to talk about second language, L2, when in today's world with increased globalization, we may be hyper polyglots like myself. We may be studying and working with a variety of languages. Okay, so in this kind of context, there will continue to be research efforts made to elucidate how learners deal with strategies for learning, on the one hand, and for performing language. In other words, language learning strategies is only part of it, the issue. It's language performing strategies. Those are crucial. We may be able to do language strategies for learning language very well and get A's on our language course tests, but actually not be able to perform the language very well at all. Okay, this is why I'm so fascinated by the issue of pragmatics, because that's where the rubber hits the road in the area of pragmatics, what you really know about a language. Okay. This study highlighted the importance of leveraging various types of verbal report to illuminate the different ways that the participants engage in VSI at the cognitive level. By fine-tuning the use of verbal report, researchers can gain deeper insights into the complexities of strategy dynamics. And those complexities may be three-dimensional, which makes it very tough to give proper discussion of them in such a presentation as this one. And in turn, the fine-tuning may enhance the strategic repertoire of language learners, as well as that of non-native instructors in their own language learning and performance. So we're really in favor of verbal report and in favor of looking at it in its fullest fashion, not giving it short shrift by just referring to it as think aloud and then dispensing with it as such. Now, for those of you who would like the full details of our study, which was just published recently in Language Teaching Research, if you can't get the full paper on your own, please contact us and we'll be glad to furnish it to you. And we wish to thank you very much for listening to our session. And now we're going to have a discussion. I'll be up at that time. It's early in the morning for me, but I'll be up, and Isobel and I will be delighted to discuss further with you our presentation. So thank you very much for attending. Yeah, bye-bye. Cancel.